जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोधनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Nitai Goy Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Goy Hari Bol. युग धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं, देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नस्तप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया, भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तेर्भवति नैष्टिके। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, The Activities of Prachitas, Text 45. ततोऽग्निमारुतौ राजन् अमुञ्चन्मुखतो रुषा महीं निविरूढं कर्तुं संवर्तका इवात्यये ततोऽग्निमारुतौ राजन् अमुञ्चन्मुखतो रुषा महीं निर्विरूढं कर्तुं संवर्तका इवात्यये ततोऽग्निमारुतौ राजन् अमुञ्चन्मुखतो रुषा महीं निर्विरूढं कर्तुं संवर्तका इवात्यये ततोऽग्निमारुतौ राजन् अमुञ्चन्मुखतो रुषा महीं निर्विरूढं कर्तुं संवर्तका इवात्यये
ततोऽग्निमारुतौ राजन्
अमुञ्चन्मुखतो रुषा महीं निर्विरूढं कर्तुं संवर्तका इवात्यये ततोऽग्निमारुतौ राजन् मुखतो रुषा महीं निर्विरूढं कर्तुं word to word meaning. Tatha, thereafter. Agni, fire. Marutau, and air. Rajan, O king. Amunchan, they emitted. Mukhataha, from their mouths. Rusha, out of anger. Mahim, the earth. Nirvirudham, treeless. Kartum, to make. Samvartakaha, the fire of devastation. Iva, like. Atyate, at the time of devastation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. My dear king, at the time of devastation, Lord Shiva emits fire and air from his mouth out of anger. To make the surface of the earth completely treeless, the Prachitas also emitted fire and air from their mouths. Purport. In this verse, Vidura is addressed as Rajan, which means, O king. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that a Dhira never becomes angry because he is always situated in devotional service. Advanced devotees can control their senses, therefore a devotee can be addressed as Rajan. A king controls and rules in various ways among citizens. Similarly, one who can control his senses is the king of his senses. He is a Swami or Goswami. The Swamis and Goswamis are therefore sometimes addressed as Maharaja or king. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूपा कदामव्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरतिशवे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगं लंगायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Hare Krishna. Translation. My dear king, at the time of devastation, Lord Shiva emits fire and air from his mouth out of anger. To make the surface of the earth completely treeless, the Prachitas also emitted fire and air from their mouths. Hare Krishna. We are discussing the activities of the Prachitas, and we are been hearing the glorious activities, prayers of the Prachitas. Here we see some of the activities, like before they were engaged in doing some tapasya, austerity. Then after that, when they saw the Lord, they were performing some glorifying activity of the Lord when Lord was there in front of them. Then after that, we see Lord immediately left from the place, showing no attachment to anyone, showing renunciation. He left the devotees, and the Prachitas, they come out of the ocean after 10,000 years. So in the previous verse it is said, thereafter all the Prachitas emerged from the water of the sea. They then saw that all the trees on the land has grown very tall, as if to obstruct the path to the heavenly planets. These trees had covered the entire surface of the earth. At this time the Prachitas became very angry. As soon as they came out of the water, when they had the darshan of the Lord and Lord has left by giving them benedictions, then Prachitas, they came out of the water because their purpose of doing tapasya is fulfilled. And they got now some kind of instruction where they have to execute. So they came out of the water after 10,000 years. As soon as when they came out of the water, the first what they saw was the trees are grown very tall. We can see like now after 10,000, even after 1 year or 2 years, empty barren means like in vacant land, we can see so many tall trees growing. So next to our IBC we can see every year they come and cut, and after 1 year it will be growing a tall trees. So when they saw that Prachitas, that these trees are grown very tall and no one is there to take care of it, they are just grown like that here and there, and the whole surface was filled with these tall trees. And there is one more reason for their anger, is like Prachitas are being told to do tapasya by his father Prachini Varishat, and before Prachitas finishes the tapasya, Prachinabari, being guided by the Narad Muni, he taken to renounce order. He left the kingdom without giving any intimation or information to their sons. He left. And this happened so when the king is not there in the kingdom, there will be a chance of growing thieves and rogues, and there is no one to maintain the kingdom. And in those days, one king used to rule whole planet, whole tract of land they used to rule. Nowadays we can see each small tract of land, we can say there are so many what we call leaders who are ruling and not able to take care of their land properly, not able to satisfy the dependents under whom they are being controlled. So, but in those days they have been having a big tract of land, but they were able to rule very nicely, peacefully, and no one used to have any difficulties. They are being given sumptuously and taken care very nicely. So, but in the absence of the king, Prachine Varishat, so when the sons, princes, they came out of the water and they saw the kingdom which is not being well maintained. And in the previous Sunday feast, we have also heard from the senior devotees, there is a reason behind the Prachitas getting anger. There is no doubt that Prachitas are pure devotees of the Lord. But we see one who is practicing devotional service, it is recommended that they should not get angry. But here we see great devotees. There are so many cases in the pages of Bhagavatam. We can see the stories about the devotees. For instance, we can see in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is also pure devotee of the Lord, but Krishna induces him to become angry. Krishna himself is saying to become angry and fight. So means anger is not a it's not a wrong, but getting angry in a wrong place is not recommended. So devotees knows when to use their anger in a right way. So Prachitas, when they came out, they felt very angry that the citizens and the city is not well maintained by the king. It's a responsibility of a king to maintain it. Whoever are living in his kingdom should be maintained. Not only the human beings, but also the animals and all other living entities also. And when he saw that there is no agriculture land is being taken care, instead of that, this land which can produce sumptuous amounts of grains, where the living entities can sustain on it, which is neglected. And rather than this kind of tall trees which are not much useful for the living entities, human beings, so it is been they got angry that why these things are not taken care. So they felt very angry. This is the cause for their angry. Here this sloka clearly says, just after they emerge out of the water, when they see the tall trees, which are like just obstructing the path to go to heavenly planets. It was so tall. You can imagine 10,000 years now how tall they have grown. And at that time there was no much pollution. So now also we can see some forests where we can see like huge, big size trees, very tall spout, what we call stout. But this is the cause where Prachitas were very angry. And as soon as the cause, there is action. So here in this sloka, the action what they are doing is they started burning the trees. From their mouth they were emitted fire and air to burn these trees, to make this land as a treeless. And in the last week we have heard like even in the Prabhupada also some cases he says human beings to sustain, they should cut down some trees which are unnecessary and use or cultivate that land into a agricultural land where people can sustain. No doubt in the forest we can get whatever required for us, we'll get it. But the main thing what people can sustain on is the grains. Annad bhavati bhutani. So Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, right? So anna, especially we can see like rice, and in this world we can see like most of the food which is being grown is grains, rice, and mostly being eaten is also rice. So as Krishna says, annad bhavati bhutani, so we sustain on the grains. So Prabhupada also says like sometimes we can cut down the unnecessary trees and we can cultivate, use that land in producing food grains. There is no wrong in that, and we are doing it for a right purpose, because Lord says like we are sustained on the grains. And it is said like in olden days each family has their own land where they used to cultivate agriculture, and they used to they sustain on their own. They don't depend on others. Now how we are depending on the grocery shop now. At that time it was not like that. They used to get the fresh items from their own farm and they used to sustain. They have cows, they sustain on the cows. Cows give milk and they make milk products and so many things, and they are very healthy. There is no pesticides used, cow dung which they want for the agriculture being given by the cow, and the grass, by using the cow dung and things they grow the grass, paddy and all, and that can be fed to the cow, and cow gives milk and cow dung which again used for the agriculture. So in that way they are self-sustained. But nowadays we don't see, even a small piece of land in the Bangalore, they construct a big buildings. Buildings can't give anything for you, rather like a cause of disturbance. How much disturbance they create when they construct a house. You can ask the neighbors, they complain saying that so much disturbance. They use big machines and all. And in this way, Prachitas, they were doing great austerity, and they did this austerity. Generally we do, it is recommended when we do austerity, it is for our purification. And one who is purified, then he is free out of all these things. And you can see there are so many examples in the Bhagavatam, like so many people they do austerity. Like for example, like Hiranyakashipu, his austerity, he also performed so much austerity, but his austerity is condemned. Because the nature of the Hiranyakashipu was, before doing austerity, he was very angry on the Lord Vishnu, and when he became when he performed austerity and he gained the power, then he started even harassing the devotees of the Lord. So in that way, Bhagavatam condemns this kind of austerity. Even the mystic yogis, they do severe austerities. They do lot of austerities. It is said like in the summer they sit in the fire, and the winter they immerse themselves in the cold water till the neck, and whole for years they will be like doing that kind of tapasya. It's very severe. It's not that easy. But once they achieve what they desire, like mystic powers, then they start enjoying it. So these kind of austerities are not at all recommended by the Bhagavatam, because austerity is meant to purify ourselves and to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here Prachitas, they did it. They did this austerity, staying in the ocean for 10,000 years just to please the Lord. And there is no other motives. If there is any other motives, like about themselves, like wanting something from the austerity, that is not considered as a pure austerity. Even like Sobari Muni, he did also tapasya under the water for many years, for some kind of mystic yoga, mystic powers. But when he came out, then he started willing to marry 50 daughters of who is that? I forgot the name. He wanted to marry 50 daughters. So means that kind of tendency, enjoying tendency, is not yet gone, because there is some interior motives. But when you are doing austerity just to please the Lord, then it is like pure. Our consciousness is pure and everything is pure. So we see this kind of two things, like tyaga and bhoga, in these kind of people. Hiranyakashipu was doing austerity, giving up satyaga, like he is away from some things, but ultimately to have some bhoga. This kind of mentality, if someone has, they are not called as a Rajan. They are not called as a Rajan or Goswamis. A king is supposed to take care of citizens. It is his duty. If he is not doing his duty, then he is not called as a king. We can see in many places, like Prabhupada also says this. When there is a war, the king used to sit inside a safe chamber, and he sees and he gets the information and he tries to guide. But other people, innocent people or the soldiers, they have to fight and lay their lives in the war. That is not a right king. A king is supposed to be in the front and set an example how to lead a life. In this way, we can see, recently we also heard this story of Prithu Maharaj. He was performing so many Ashwamedha yajnas he was doing. And one day what happened, he was doing Ashwamedha yajna in different places. He used to travel and do it. And one day what happens, some of his citizens came to him, and his condition was very bad. They were very skinny, they were very hungry, and they were lamenting. They are not getting food at all. Then Prithu Maharaj started thinking, like, how this is happening in my kingdom. I am doing my job very nicely. I am performing sacrifices for the Lord and doing my devotional service very nicely. Why people are still starving here? In my rule, it should not happen. He started thinking in this way. Then he found that Mother Earth is not giving sufficient grains to the people, to the citizens. He found that this is the Mother Earth was not giving. She is at fault. So he started chasing her. And Prithu Maharaj was very angry at Mother Earth. And Mother Earth was also very angry for some other reason. Then when Prithu Maharaj was very angry on Mother Earth, and he started saying like, it's your duty to give, but you are not following your duty, so I should punish you. He started chasing her. And Mother Earth, she took a form of a cow. Because we see, whenever someone is at fault, they try to gain sympathy. So Mother Earth also wanted to gain sympathy by taking a form of a cow. Because a king should give protection to the cow and a brahmanas. That is his duty, first duty. So she assumed a form of a cow. But still, Prithu Maharaj was so angry, he said like, even though if you have taken the form of a cow, I am not going to forgive you. I will cut you into the millions of pieces and feed my citizens. He says that out of anger. Then Mother Earth questions, saying that, no, oh sir, if you cut me down, then where all these living entities will stay? Then Prithu Maharaj says like, no, I don't want your help. They can all stay on my body. I can give residence to them without your help. I don't want you. Then Mother Earth started like, it's not going to work with arguments and all. So let me take shelter onto him, and they started discussing why Mother Earth was angry. Mother Earth, she kept her petition to Prithu Maharaj saying that citizens are not following their duty. They are exploiting her and not doing devotional service to the Lord. Because of that, she was very angry. She is capable of giving everything and anything, whatever is required for the human beings. It is said she is called Vasundhara. She holds so many valuable things also with her. Valuable gems, jewels, gold. So many things she holds, not only the food grains. But she was not ready to give her. She was on hold. She don't want to give it to the citizens, because they are not becoming the devotees of the Lord. Rather, they started eating and becoming stout and breaking the regulative principles. So she became very angry. Then she stopped giving anything to them. Then Prithu Maharaj understood why Mother Earth was angry. Then Prithu Maharaj gave the assurity that, my people, my citizens in the kingdom will follow all these rules, and they do devotional service. That I am sure to let you know. That's a duty of a king to take care. A Brahmana should be engaged in Brahmanical activity. A Kshatriya should be engaged in Kshatriya activity. A Shudra and Vaishya should be engaged accordingly. That kind of facility should be given by the king. If not, then Shudra will do some other activity which is not his nature, like how we are doing it. A Brahmana is not supposed to work under anyone. Even under the king, he is not supposed to work. Rather, king or a leader should work for the Brahmana and take the guidance from the Brahmana. But here we can see people, many times, even recently I heard this lecture, Prabhupada says like, people they elect a Shudra because people, they are also Shudras. They elect the same category of a Shudra as a leader. And what do? He do Shudras kind of activities. What is the activity of a Shudra? Shudra generally what? He generally goes and plunders others' property. That's what he is laying so many taxes. And people are forced to pay the taxes. And people are fed up. What happens? They dethrow them. They throw their leader and elect one more Shudra. Prabhupada says this, people are so dull-minded, they are fools, they don't know to whom to elect. So if similarly here, king is supposed to take care of all these things in the kingdom. If not, there will be a havoc. So like, you can see, before Prithu, who was the king? Vena. Vena, he himself is a thief. King himself is a thief. Here Mother Earth was petitioning, saying that no, your citizens are the thieves. They are stealing from me and becoming stout and doing so many, breaking the principles. Then before she says like, no, the king was there, he is a Vena, he is only a thief, rogue. He is plundering like anything. He is not only following any rules and regulation. Then how should I give? She has a very bad experience. So she has a right cause to become angry. So Prithu Maharaj also had a right cause to become angry, but before he became angry, he was contemplating. Contemplation is in a mode of goodness, sattva guna. When anger in a mode of passion will create devastation. But anger in a mode of sattva guna is a right cause of anger, it can be used in a right way. So whenever we have anger, we should contemplate. Right? We also, when devotees staying together, Kali Yuga is like this. Its nature is like quarrel and hypocrisy. When two people come together, there will be some kind of misunderstanding and they will quarrel. So devotees, when we are also together, we are practicing devotees, we are not yet a pure devotees. So what happens? We will be having so many misunderstandings. There is each and every chance where we can get angry on each other. Yes. So but devotees should be very intelligent. Whenever there is this kind of provoking situations, we should think, we should condemn this nature of the Kali, not the nature of the devotee or a nature of a person. We see like this is the nature of a Kali Yuga, quarrel and hypocrisy. Whenever people come together, there will be this kind of things happening. So we know, we hear. So whenever these things happen, it's not like it doesn't happen because that nature is influencing on us, that effect is there with us. We try to do it. It happens out of our control or something like that. The situation comes. So rather, when it comes, we should start contemplating like how Prithu Maharaj did it. Or else like it will be a disaster or devastation. So we want it to be united, we want to be together, then we should all the time think and meditate. There is a reason behind everyone doing something. They may be having some kind of understanding, some kind of things. But when we come together and when we discuss, rather, you see like when one devotee is angry on another devotee, when you talk to them, they all the time say bad about other devotees. He had a bad experience, he has a bad experience, they speak. They don't say something good qualities about each other. When they think about something good qualities about each other, then these kind of misunderstandings or fights will not happen. So it can be stopped at the early stage. And devotees, it's not recommended that they can have jealous or envious nature. No, they should give it up all. So for that, this kind of severe austerities will help us to come out of these things, like sincerely, seriously chanting every day, and reading books. Prabhupada says, like, if one is not, who is not reading my books, they simply eat, sleep and fall. Prabhupada says this. So it is recommended, chanting, hearing, reading is must. We should do it. And we learn by our mistakes. It's not like someone is doing intentionally. It happened. So devotees are very kind. So even though there are some fights, so they should be cooperating each other, forgetting their bad experiences what they have, giving up all these things, and try to give up this anger, and try to see some good qualities and try to glorify each other. Then we can see something good happening with each other and progressive things happening with each other. Or else, like, it is very difficult. And in the Shastras it is said, to come out of the anger, we should fast on Ekadasis. Because when you do fasting on Ekadasi, not having anything, you don't have much energy. If someone comes and try to argue with you, you say, I don't have energy, maybe I can't talk to you, leave it. But when you eat on Dwadasi, you may fight. So, but yes, so at least on the day of Ekadasi, we will not do Vaishnava Prat. Fighting and things like that. So it is said in Shastras, this is one kind of recommendation. One more thing is, like, someone can engage in physical activities, like one should make sure that they should engage in cleaning temple hall very nicely, washing the vessels very nicely, cutting the vegetables, engage in these kind of activities, cooking, or going out purchasing for something, like having some heavy loads, lifting some loads like books, you generally lift it. So when you are doing all these physical activities, so your energy is being used in the Krishna service, then we will not use our energy in fighting with others. So we should have, in our schedule, we should make such a way, like, we should be engaged in some sweat should come out. That is a service, not that we just do some upar jo kuch karke chala aate, show off, like, I did some service. No, that will not help us. So this is recommended in Vedic scriptures, like, in this way we can use our energy in a right way and avoid this kind of provoking situations. When you don't have energy at all, then you will not. And slowly, since we are practicing devotees, we are doing this chanting, hearing, and doing some kind of tapasya, austerity, that will also help us to come to the mode of goodness. Goodness, in that we will get this tolerance, which is very important. If you don't have tolerance, then for each and everything we will just try to, like, get angry. Sometimes happens, like, someone is doing something wrong and we'll shout at someone who is not at all involved in that activity, right? We just take out our anger, right? So when we are doing all these things, when we are sincerely practicing, when we get this kind of godly qualities, and then once we are tolerant, so we can come out of or give away this kind of fighting tendencies. It's like when we practice, it's easy to do it. So in this way, we see there are many cases also where devotees using their anger in a right way. Some in scriptures you can see somewhere devotees are being encouraged to become angry. Somewhere it is being recommended not to become angry. For example, in the case of Arjuna, Krishna himself says, like, you should fight. If you not fight, then it is a defaming, this, that is like equivalent to death. What you are doing? Get up, fight, he says. Without angry, you can't fight. You can't fight smiling. You can't do that. you should have some. You should have some anger. Or else, see, Krishna provoked anger to Arjuna and Yudhishthir, so that they can get up and fight. And in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, when his elder son was being killed by one of the Yaksha, he killed his elder son. He taken a vow to kill all the races of Yakshas. Then Lord Brahma came to stop his anger, that why you are doing this. So in that way, in some places, anger is being provoked, and in some case, it is said to stop, not to get angry. So, but the thing we should understand, which is pleasing to Lord, like Hanuman, no one has said that to become angry there. But he set a fire to whole Lanka, but that is being glorified. So that kind of anger is recommended. So when we have this good practice of Krishna consciousness, we will having this kind of knowledge where, how, when to use it. If not, then we will use here and there, and we simply become the victims for that anger. So, but practicing devotees, yes, we can say they are not, they are in the process of purification. So, they can remember these things which I was quoting, those are being given in the scriptures. They try to develop good qualities like a Brahmana, having that tolerance, titiksha, karunika, having patience. So that will not provoke them, and engage in devotional service all the time, and engaging the energy what you have in the service of the Lord. We will not spend our energy wastely here and there. So it's the best way to control our anger, or use in a right way our anger. Okay. So I just pause here. So any questions, doubts, corrections?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the nice class. So today you focused on controlling the anger, and before that you were speaking about austerity. So austerity done for one's own self, by one's own concoction, does not help for purification. But when it is done for the pleasure of the Lord, it's very purifying. So for tomorrow's Nirjala Ekadashi, this was a preparation. So if it is done for the pleasure of the Lord, it will be purifying. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, some points which I could take away from today's class is the king should be ideal and should set an ideal example. So, similarly, amongst the senses, the mind is the king. The mind should also be able to, just like when the king is Krishna conscious, everything is taken care, everything runs smoothly. Similarly, if mind is Krishna conscious, everything is smooth. So, from that king perspective, I got this analogy. Austerity should be done for the pleasure of Krishna. Otherwise, it will only lead to demoniac nature. Whenever you said Kali Yuga is this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, so it is natural that people will do quarreling and hypocrisy. So if we see such kind of things happening around us, we should blame it on Kali Yuga, not on the people in general, because people are simply influenced. Same people you put in Satyuga, they will act differently. So therefore, we have to be nice to each other. We have to be tolerant. The later part of the lecture, you start focusing on anger, how it should be channelized in the service of the Lord. So, I was thinking why anger comes in the first place. So, the Bhagavad Gita says, Dhyayato Vishayapumsa Sangashteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamat Kamat Krodho Bhijayate. So, whenever there is meditation on sense objects, that leads to attachment. That attachment becomes lust, and this lust gives rise to anger. So, one of the positive ways in which a sadhaka can try to minimize the anger is to see where all sense gratification is happening and try to stop that. Dhyayato should not happen. Meditation on sense objects, if it does not happen, then one can be very effective in controlling their anger. Just wanted to add this one. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So very nice points as you told about how pure devotees use their anger in the service of the Lord, and whereas we should contemplate while we get angry because we are practicing devotees. So one question I had this point regarding that trees grew very tall, like they were obstructing the path to heavenly planets. So this is like how to understand, like do we travel in to heavenly planets like that? We generally travel in subtle bodies, so how can trees obstruct the path to heavenly planets?
So it is grown such a way like you can't even see the sky. So it is covering the sky. So that is like an adjective, what we call that. There's been phrase has been used in that way. Like it looks like it is objecting the path of heavenly planets. See, one of the way we can understand, like when you are not following the prescription given by the Lord, scripture, like it is said you should do annat bhavati prajanyo, like means you should do sacrifice, and with that, like clouds form, rain comes, and then the fruit grains grows, right, with the help of rains. So when everywhere there is a tree is grown, there is no performance of sacrifice, then how these clouds will form and how you will get that rains which can be grown. So even though rain comes, then only these forest trees which are not useful will grow tall. But the thing which is required for the human beings, that we are not getting, even though rain comes. So in that way, they use this phrase saying that no, these trees are grown such a tall where we can't even see the sky, clouds, and so that in that context they have used this, like these trees are grown in such a way tall, like a path obstructing to the heavenly planets.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a question. So you said that Krishna induced anger to Arjuna to fight and to be anger while fighting. But Krishna also says in 16.21 that three gates of hell to is that greed, anger, and lust. So can I explain this, bro? Like he also says that in this anger, but also says that anger is also a gate of hell. So
So here Arjuna was not angry on himself. Rather, he wanted to become non-violent. He don't want to fight. Because he has that compassion heart, soft-heartedness. But to establish dharma, to take out all these miscreants, to punish them, Lord is saying that as a king you should do that duty. If you don't do that duty, then who will do it? It's a defame for you. And Krishna himself is saying to get angry. He is being guided by the Krishna, Supreme Lord himself. If someone is guided by Lord saying that no, Chandu, now you become angry and go and do this. No need to think like no, three gates of hell is anger. If I become anger, then I will go to hell. Why should I follow you? If you don't follow the Lord's this one, then you will go to hell also. Like Yudhishthira Maharaj, he has to supposed to go to hell. When he disobeyed to say the lie, to kill that elephant, not who is that son? Whose son he is? His Dronacharya's son. So until Dronacharya's son is not dead, he didn't heard that news, then he will not die. Dronacharya. But Dronacharya, he will not just hear anyone's word, like, if you go and say to Dronacharya, your son is dead, then he will not believe you. But someone who is there, who can believe on him, is this Yudhishthira, because he never said lied. But Krishna says that, you go and say lie, he will believe. Then he said denied. And for that, see, lie, if you say lie also, you will go to hell. It's not that you will not go. You will go to hell, right? That's what Yudhishthira was not doing at that act. But Krishna is saying, Krishna is giving assurance that, no, you go and say on behalf of me, I am giving you instruction. So like that, Arjuna is being given that instruction to become angry. And he did it for pleasing the Lord. Not that he want to enjoy the kingdom. Arjuna renounced the kingdom very long back. He don't want kingdom and all. He stayed like, I am ready to renounce and go to forest, do begging and sustain myself. He said that. But Krishna says to get angry just to please Krishna. So Arjuna get angry to just please Krishna. So his intention was right. And if someone is getting angry on his own, that leads to hell. For your own things, to get the things for your own self, like, there is no instructions or something like that, which is not in line with scriptures, then definitely, if someone is getting angry, then they will go to hell. They have to see the hell. Okay. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की